Yes, that would be definitely the best introduction to my life. Since I know myself as a human being, I was always in love with the screens and video games. I remember when I was like 5 or 6 years old and I saw my older cousin playing Super Mario on a Nintendo and I was astonished. A few years later, I had a chance to play Sonic on a friend's Mega Drive. For me, controlling the lights using my fingers was a godlike power. I was born in Brazil, in the city of São Paulo in 1982. My childhood was amazing, full of opportunities and rich experiences. I was hooked with technology and many cartoons drew my attention, like for instance, the Transformers, G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force.
Thundercats.
Thunder! 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 Thundercats! Oh!
Magic, hear the roar. Thundercats are loose. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Thunder, 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 Thundercats.
In the late 80s, Brazil was invaded by Japanese tokusatsu. At the time, those visual tricks were matched by nothing else. Tokusatsu is a word in Japanese that means literally special effects. But more than graphics, they really made exceptional work regarding the cinematography. You can see how there's a very committed team producing the shows. The audio foley was also top-notch at the time. It became a fever among the kids. I recall some songs to this day. Otoko da Muna, Wakasa da Muna. Anyway, when I was around 14 years old, our family decided to buy our first personal computer, a super modern Intel 486 DX4. And it allowed me to play Doom for hours. This was before the internet was around. I remember using the bulletin board system. It was really fun at the time.
Through bulletin board systems, people primarily communicated via messaging and forum-like applications. But there were also games, news, role-playing sites, and so much more. It was truly the beginning of the internet as we know it.
So, when the time came, I decided to study digital design at the Laureate International University in São Paulo. The course was focused on several fields of the audiovisual industry, from printing to multimedia animation.
Eu desconfio que se voto fosse facultativo.
For the next 10 years, I would work with all sorts of things, from DVD covers to documentaries, motion design, advertisement, etc. So in 2014, I decided to focus my career in video. So I went back to the university to learn TV and radio broadcasting. The course was great and I had very good teachers. Our final project was graded 9 out of 10, which was a very rare occurrence at the school. At this time, I was hired by a startup company, Sofa Digital, which is the leading encoding house in Latin America. We would gather films from all around the world for Portuguese and Spanish markets. Later, we launched the Filmelier.com portal, which is a streaming guide for all platforms in Brazil and Mexico. However, I never felt like a full Brazilian. if you will, because I'm not really fond with samba and the beach culture, carnival. I don't dislike it, but I'm also not a big fan. It's not something that makes me, oh yes, that time of the year again. In 2018, one of my work colleagues and old friend Miguel decided to move to Vancouver, which sprouted in me the wish to live abroad. Suddenly, a video appears on my feed on YouTube with the title "Canadian City Needs People, but Nobody Wants to Go." So after a lot of research and study, I made the decision to leave everything behind and try my luck in Canada. However, just about 6 months before my departure, my father had a huge health issue and had to enter surgery because of a stomach tumor. As he lives in another province, I took the first flight and went straight to the hospital in order to support him. For the next 2 weeks, I had to live back and forth going to the hospital and taking care of the house. Unfortunately, things did not go well, and sadly, he doesn't make out of the ICU room. So I had to mourn my loss in a distant city while dealing with all the errands and selling everything my father had and dealing with bank accounts and lawyers and everything around it. But I had no doubt about my goals and about my journey. Despite all the rocks in my path, I still managed to keep focused. And in January of 2022, I arrived in Montreal, ready for starting new battles.
The first time I heard about the Trebas Institute was through the consulting services of Challenge Intercâmbio, which I hired to help me find the best course for me. Then I went straight to Google Street View in order to explore the map and check out every little street around the school. I also watched some videos on YouTube to understand what the city was like. I always planned everything ahead. My biggest concern was the cold, as I was arriving right in the middle of winter. In my head, -20 meant instant death. After some study, I decided to reach a Brazilian guide who has been living in Montreal for a few years. She picked me up from the airport and took me straight to good stores so I could buy quality clothing suitable for the weather. Obviously, after some time, like every Canadian, I didn't even care about the snow anymore. And finally, I started the penultimate part of my journey in Canada, which is to relearn my profession in another language, as well as keep up to date with the latest trends and developments in the film industry. The final stage will be to work hard and obtain the Canadian citizenship, my third and final act of this journey.